Welcome to Nonprofit Stories, inspiring tales from Silicon Valley. We will explore the transformative work of nonprofit organizations and leaders who are changing our community by tackling some of the most pressing issues facing Silicon Valley. So without further ado, let's dive into this exciting conversation. Today, we welcome Paul DeMarco, founder and director of No Time to Waste. Their mission is to provide donated food and essential goods for those in need in Silicon Valley. Thank you to our sponsor, TradeMyHome.com, for their community commitment and for making this podcast possible. In Silicon Valley, approximately 100,000 tons of excess food is generated annually, but only 40% is recovered, costing local businesses $50 million. Less than 20% of food recovery organizations track nutritional content, emphasizing the need for improved data collection and economic analysis to enhance recovery effectiveness and health impacts. And now your host of Nonprofit Stories, Dee Kiso.
Welcome to the program today. I'm delighted to have Paul DeMarco here, and I met Paul 7 years ago when he had a bright idea and $2,000. And today you're going to find out how that bright idea changes lives every day with his wonderful nonprofit he started called No Time to Waste. So Paul, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So you started out as a school teacher.
Yes.
Tell us the journey to No Time to Waste.
So the journey from being a school teacher to No Time to Waste is in 2013, I had an idea where I wanted to give back to my community. And I wanted to do something that was impactful, but I did not have a lot of time because obviously I had a full-time job, but I did have summers that were open. So I did the paperwork needed to form a 501c3 organization, and I focused on food recovery, which didn't really exist at the time, but it's what was my focus. So that's what I started to do is solicit restaurants and try to get them to provide surplus food for me.
Well, your bright idea started when you were at a buffet.
Yes.
And a light bulb went off.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yes. So I was at a buffet and we were there when they were closing. And I just, as I was walking out the door, I looked back at this table of food and just thought to myself, what happens to this food? Does it just get thrown out? And the next day I was getting on an airplane, and as I was going through security, I was looking at the giant barrels of items that people had to discard that they could not take on the plane. Once again, I thought to myself, what happens to all this? So that's where I got the idea where I wanted to see if I could stop waste and get this to people that were in need. So that's where No Time to Waste came from. I started in 2013. It was something that I could only do on the weekends. I would solicit restaurants and ask them for their food. And I was very naive because I just thought, I'm walking in, I have a cape on, and you're going to give me your food.
Isn't
right?
that how all of us nonprofit people think? We're giving you an opportunity to say yes.
This is easy.
But there's a lot of no's. So
a lot of no's.
What happened?
There were no's to the point where I thought, gee, I just don't think this is going to happen. Nobody wants to give me food because they're afraid of liability. Though I can talk till I'm blue in the face, they are basically looking at me like, when are you going to leave? So I had to get creative, and I had to kind of go around what would be restaurants, and I started to contact hospitals. And my first client was Kaiser Hospital, who I have to this day. And then I started to contact caterers, delis, bakeries, and I kind of went around the main organizations that were restaurants at the time. And I had about 5 clients back in 2013 when I started. Like I said, Kaiser was my one I would pick up on Saturdays and Sundays.
You were delivering this food to people in need. How were you finding them?
So at the time, I was only delivering to 3 agencies. How did I find them? It was more of living in the community. I knew their names, the names of the organizations. So I was, they would know that I would come every Saturday and Sunday and drop off food. Like I said, there were only 3. I wasn't really able to grow the business as much as I wanted to because I had a full-time job. So I could only get so big and I only had so much time. And funding was not coming in. And I remember I went to a seminar on funding and you had to turn in a 3x5 card with your question, but they didn't want to see you. They would just read the question, big auditorium. They read mine. And I remember the person reading the card saying, we are in the second year as a nonprofit, and we're questioning on how to find funding. And she just put the card down and she said, you're not going to have funding for the first 5 years because people expect you to go out of business within the first 5 years. So you either put your head down and keep working or you give up. And she went on to the next question.
Isn't that the most exciting thing is when we can build a nonprofit and everyone expects you're going out of business.
Right.
I've never met one that went out of business.
Yes.
They're all still thriving today.
Yeah. So it would kind of hit me between the eyes, but it was also a put up or shut up. Do I really want to do this or not? And it was like, well, whether it becomes financially stable or not, this is something I want to do on the side. So I just kept doing it. And
then something wonderful happened. Something wonderfully terrible happened.
Yes, something wonderfully terrible happened, which is called COVID. And in 2020 of March, I believe the date was March 13th because it's in my mind. But when we went into lockdown in Silicon Valley, as a teacher, I became a Zoom online teacher overnight. And the very next day, my phone was ringing off the hook. And it was other nonprofits who I had never talked to, who obviously didn't know who I was, but had found me and said, it looks like you do food recovery. We've lost all our volunteers because everybody bugged out. If you want to pick up food at this location, it's yours. It would be wonderful if you could do that. So here I was with my business exploding overnight while I'm still having a full-time job. But it was a godsend because I was able to record lessons at night and play them for my students to watch. And I was able to do food recovery during the day at the same time, come back, check in on my classes, questions, concerns. There were times where I was teaching class in my car, on my phone, and the back of my car was full with food. So that was March. So I only had to get to June. And then it was at that point that I realized I have to go for it. This is it. Though I did not have the funding. So this was a complete leap of faith. I just went for it. So I quit and I didn't come back starting in 2021. At that point, this business became full-time. It became not 5 days a week. It became 7 days a week overnight, from probably 2 hours a week to full-time.
And that's remarkable, Paul. And you're still in business. You didn't go out of business.
No.
You worked in the trenches and you believed and you showed up every day.
Yeah.
So tell me about how the funding started coming in, because that's the next best step to keep your car running and you moving.
Sure.
What did that journey look like?
So I started in 2013. I told you about the 5-year. They told me you're not going to get any funding for 5 years. In 2019, I got like $2,500 check and I was like, oh my gosh, someone give me money. Right. And then I thought to myself, hey, it's been 5 years. So it's started to trickle in. I believe in 2020, I had raised about $20,000. So it was coming.
Uh-huh.
I live in Silicon Valley. That's not going to cut it. But I had a little bit of a base, and I had some money saved. So once I was able to stop focusing on being a school teacher, I could focus on fundraising, which I never really could completely focus on. So that became a situation where I did research and found out every grant that's out there, and whether it was local, where it was national, and it just started coming. And it trickled in to the point where it was, whatever was small was becoming large because it was adding up and adding up and adding up. So that was 2020. By last year, I can say that we are now fiscally stable, where I feel that it's not a matter of, I don't know if it's going to come in every year, and I'm not sure. Oh, I got money from someone here, but I'm not. I feel good now where we're stable. Do we have a lot of money? Absolutely not. But we have enough to absolutely do our day-to-day operations and grow at the same time.
What is your annual budget?
Our annual budget is about $160,000.
$160,000.
Yes.
To deliver how many thousand meals a year?
So I'll give you an idea how we've grown, Didi. So when I went full-time in 2021, our main program was called 795. We're going to provide 95 pounds of food 7 days a week. In 2022, it grew from 795 to 7,180. We just about doubled. Last year, that program went from 7,180 to 7,250. This year, it's now at 500. So we've gone from 95 pounds a day to 500 pounds a day, which is now halfway through 2024. We're at 600 pounds a day. So we have grown 313%, I believe, is my last projection that I looked at. Since 2021, we have just exploded our business, and we're continuing to grow.
How many drivers do you have?
Well, that's just it. So we're almost exclusively a volunteer business. So I have 19 full-time volunteers. And what I mean by full-time is these are volunteers that have one job per week. So, Dee Dee, you want to work for No Time, or you want to volunteer for No Time to Waste, your job is you're going to pick up from Kaiser Hospital on Wednesday mornings, and you're going to deliver to West Valley Community Services. That's your only job, once a week. Make sure that you live close to one of those locations so it's easy for you. All my volunteers, they are going to be putting in 30 to 45 minutes a week. So they're not, everyone's busy. We're in Silicon Valley. You are busy.
Right. And they're not so taxed that this volunteer job is a burden.
And you're not going from one location to this location.
Keeps the joy in the volunteering.
Exactly. So most of my volunteers, I would say 65% I've had for over 2 years.
How does technology help you move your business along?
So technology is a big part because we have developed our own app just for our business.
Tell me about that.
Okay. So our No Time to Waste app is fantastic. And what it is it's an app where when we pick up food from a donor, we are able to put that donor in our app, and our app is divided into grocers, restaurants, caterers, delis, bakeries. We find the category, we put the name of the organization in, Safeway. We weigh all our food, or we count our meals. So if volunteers are picking up prepared food, they're counting meals. If they're picking up produce, they're weighing the box, and we provide them with the scale. They weigh the food, they put it in the app. The app projects the meals in terms of pounds or the actual pounds. Then in the app, we have the delivery location that we're delivering to. So we have we have 17 agencies that we deliver to. We have all our agencies. We put the pounds in there, and that goes to a spreadsheet that gives us a daily total of how many pounds, how many meals, how many sides we are picking up from one location, and how much of that is being delivered to another location. So we have real-time metrics at any time that you want those metrics for the organizations that I'm picking up from, the organizations that I'm delivering to. So I can tell them, this is how much food we got from you this day, this week, this month, this year, and this is how much we've provided for our recipients. It's been fantastic. And we also have, on that app, we have a calculator that calculates how much carbon dioxide we're reducing and how much water we're saving. So it is a game changer. And it's a wonderful tool that is used every single day in our business.
And I would think, as a strategic fundraiser, this opens up the categories of people who can invest in your outcomes, right? People who care about low emissions, people who care about water, food, feeding, recycling.
Yes.
You have really opened up the opportunities for donor enrollment and investment with this brilliant app.
Yeah, like I said, it was a game changer for our business, and that was developed about 2 years ago.
Developed locally? And whose idea was it?
Well, this is what's interesting. So there is a website called Volunteer Match. Volunteer Match is where I find my volunteers. Well, I wanted to develop an app. I don't know anything. I mean, I'm not that technologically savvy, but I knew what I wanted, right? I just put it out there. It's a national search. And I said, I want to develop an app for food recovery. This is what I'm looking for. College student in North Carolina contacted me and developed the app for me. He put it as part of his resume. And it was that simple. You ask and you receive, right?
You know, you get more brilliant by the minute.
So yeah, it was. I was lucky, but fortunate.
Yeah, that's a wonderful story.
Yeah,
and Volunteer Match is a lovely resource.
And think of our metrics that we can provide. You know, we can give you, concrete, not guessing, and give you and I can project and I can say, you know what, this is where we are. Our outcome is going to be here in a month, 3 months, 6 months. This is where we're headed. So it's awesome.
A typical problem homeowners have when wanting to buy a new home is whether to sell first or buy first. Either way is risky. When ready to look for a new home, TradeMyHome.com, powered by Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, offers an upfront guaranteed cash offer on your current home. Are you moving in the next 3 to 6 months? Text PAIR to 408-740-7400 for a free and no-obligation professional equity appraisal report, exclusively for Nonprofit Stories podcast viewers. For more information, visit TradeMyHome.com or call 408-740-7400. Remember, at TradeMyHome.com, your home is sold guaranteed or we'll buy it.
What are the real specific changes that help No Time to Waste grow so rapidly? We had COVID.
Sure.
We have the app.
Sure.
What is that third pillar?
The third pillar was last year in October, where we finally secured a utility vehicle for food recovery. And that was through the county of Santa Clara. They donated that vehicle to us. Our impact doubled overnight, because we were now able to go into the grocery market, which I had kind of stayed away from because that's too much. It's too much bulk for a volunteer. It's not fair, so to speak. So I was dabbling with grocers, but I was mostly in prepared food. That was my niche. Once the van came into place, I brought on grocers. And when you bring on grocers, you're talking about hundreds, if not thousands of pounds of food. So we doubled our impact overnight. So when I say that we went from 250 pounds to 500 pounds a day, that was grocers. So a year ago, I had one grocer. Today, I have 8 grocers that we pick up from. So that was a game changer. So the van was a big one. The second one is that we became fiscally stable, because that was, I hate to say it, was maybe more than 50% of my job was finding grants, because, we are
When they don't all say yes, so you spend all that time writing, and what do you get? 20% maybe.
absolutely, and you're at the mercy of your community to want to back you. So once I became fiscally stable, that was allowed me to really go and build this business. So we went from having 3 main food donors to now we have 28 regular food donors. We went from 3 agencies that we drop off to 17. We boast 100 partners in all. That's funders, that's community members, that's food donors, that's charitable outreach programs, food pantry shelters that we deliver to. So that is a big part where our partners grew, which allowed us to grow.
So how can the Silicon Valley community help you grow, Paul?
Well, Silicon Valley community can help us grow because, like I said, we have 19 volunteers. I'm the only paid employee, and I'm wearing every hat that you can think of. I've become very social media savvy because I have no choice. I'm very good at writing grants because I have no choice, but I got better at it. One thing that would, like I said, when we got our van, we doubled our impact overnight. If I can get the funding to have paid staff, that's going to grow our impact double, if not triple. And that means whether it's a driver or someone who can take on grant writing, who can take on social media, who can take on our daily metrics, great. That would allow us to definitely take off. At the same time, we're always looking for volunteers because we are volunteer driven. So we're always looking for someone who has 30 to 45 minutes out of their week where they can commit to 1 day a week to pick up from one location and drop off. And we will always, our motto is less travel, greater impact. So we will not go 20 miles to pick up food to drop off. We will, if someone contacts us from Fremont, 20 minutes away in traffic, 2 hours away, we will say, we can't pick up, give us an hour. We'll find an agency that will. So I am very much into making a marriage between one food donor and a charitable group that's close to each other and walking away and saying, they're getting the food. That's all that matters. But for us, it's more about the less the travel, the greater the impact, because we can do more in a day if we're not just traveling. So once we get a food donor, my first thought is, okay, where's the closest drop-off? Once I get a volunteer, okay, where do you live? Okay, you're closest to this donor, you're closest to that. So that's how we're growing, by making it simpler and more impactful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'd like to invite you to step into Dee Dee's corner for a minute.
Okay.
And let's talk about that grant writing. The amount of hours that you put in to get maybe 10, 15, 20 yeses out of 100 asks, right? And
Dee Dee,
yes.
I wrote 65 grants in January. Because you have to.
Well, you do if you're focusing on grant money.
Okay.
But what would you consider diversifying your financial income and looking at grants maybe a little more closer and writing ones that are more likely to be yeses and leaning in to community support and building a long-term donor base of cash donations to your nonprofit?
Sure.
Because now you have so much impact that you can find people that would be willing to invest in this as an entrepreneurial style endeavor to grow your business faster, smarter,
Sure.
with less lift.
Sure.
And I'm going to bet you that I could have you back here in a year if we could lean into this strategy and cut back that grant writing for more yeses for those hours.
Absolutely.
I think you could quadruple your income.
And you're absolutely right, because I'm telling you about the actual day-to-day operations where I'm trying to simplify.
Yes.
Grant writing is simplified would be huge. Yeah.
You can ask me how I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's a wonderful opportunity for you to go straight into community for, strategic partnerships,
Sure.
individual donors. And we should talk about that because I'd love to have you back and tell me and all of our wonderful viewers on how you hit the jackpot with less time and
Sounds
effort.
good to me. Let's set the date.
You got it. Let's meet up next week.
Okay.
Tell me about your storytelling and how important that is for your work.
Well, storytelling. I have a film background, so storytelling is a big part of this business in terms of just when you talk about setting up a website, you can just put information out, and for me, my website tells a story. So if you go there, you're going to see a narrative, so to speak. So my background is in storytelling. I'm also an author, so I kind of have that creativeness already there. So storytelling is very important. It's very important in social media where I'm able to tell a story. And I'm excited that I'm going to literally start within the next couple weeks where I want to start doing live broadcasts of No Time to Waste in Action, where it's basically you're just watching us pick up food and load it up and deliver it so you can just see what we're actually doing and what it looks like.
Yeah, that 3-step process to a transformative story, right?
Yeah.
Well, we both have our degree from the same place.
Yes. So it's kind of a natural fit for me.
It certainly is.
Storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So how do you balance all these roles? You've got executive director, you have filmmaker, you have fundraiser. Tell me how you're making all of this work.
Well, let's talk about the director part because, like I said, I'm wearing all the hats. So I've tried to streamline the fact that I'm doing the day-to-day operations of actual picking up food. So I have cut that down to 3 days a week. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is hard boots on the ground, picking up and delivering food. Thursday and Friday is my time to be doing administrative work. That's grant writing, that's social media, that is community partners, and whatever meetings that may be where I'm trying to talk about future partnerships. So that is how I'm trying to balance something that was all over the place. And I'm just doing it. Now I've kind of streamlined it. And my volunteers are in place to pick up the slack of when I'm doing administrative work. When we're talking about being an author and a videographer, that's on the side. That has been pushed to the side where that's something that I can't do right now. But Dee Dee, I can tell you that when I am able to and ready to, I already have the ideas in my head and I'm ready to go with my next project.
No doubt.
What I want to focus on is I want to focus on local history. And I want to do small documentaries on local history, interests, stories, to give back to my community. We used to be called the Valley of the Heart's Delight, and now we're called Silicon Valley. I want to embrace that. And I want to, for example, I would like to research why street names are called what they are in our community. What is the background behind it? May sound boring to someone who's listening to this right now, but that's my nerdy enjoyment.
There's a guy on the internet that does that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea.
It's wonderful. I think he's doing the San Francisco area.
Oh, how cool.
It's a wonderful walk around. I love it because
that's cool.
I'm an information junkie like you.
Yeah.
I'm curious about everything.
Yeah. And I love, the businesses that have been around since the 40s and the 30s. I think it's like...
Well, incidentally, my family came here in 1870 in a covered wagon.
There you go.
And Valley of the Heart's Delight, they were all farmers.
Absolutely.
They worked in the Del Monte and all this kind of stuff.
Yes,
and
Del
now,
Monte plant. Yes.
Exactly. I got pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, the years of that to be a 5th, 6th generation with my kids here. There's not that many of us. And to retain that story,
That would be my third career.
Well, you look at a parking space, right?
Sure.
And that parking space used to be 2 pear trees.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And now what does it produce, right? It produces wealth for somebody that displaces a home and food for somebody else.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
it hasn't come full circle. It went in an opposite direction.
Yep. I mean, I can remember growing up in this valley where neighborhoods were 2 or 3 houses and a cherry orchard, 2 houses and a prune.
What street did you grow up on?
I grew up on Peregrino in Willow Glen.
Of course.
Yes.
Yes.
So we were all cherries.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, it's changed exponentially.
Well, we used to ride our bikes out all the way to Alviso sometimes.
Oh, wow.
Remember? Because that was just all orchards everywhere.
Yeah.
And there were times that we could go in. Mario Ravisi,
Mm-hmm.
he was the guy who invented the shaker. And we would go, and we would go into his orchards, and we could pick up anything and as much as we wanted off the grounds before Del Monte came to take the good fruit, right?
Amazing.
And we would haul this home, and my parents would have us help them can
Dry.
quarts and quarts of pears, peaches, tomatoes.
Wow.
There were eggplant. We'd fill our basement, the root cellar with all this food, and it was just free for the taking.
Right.
There was
Just
abundance.
abundance. Exactly. Just surplus everywhere.
Nobody was hungry.
Yes. And my dad would tell me stories of driving to Mount Hamilton in the spring, and there were so many cherry blossoms that you had to turn your windshield wiper on. Man, I wish those days were here.
I know. I do miss it. Right? Driving over the hill in Willow Glen, and you were going out to the country, and it seemed like you were driving forever.
Yeah.
And now it's just neighborhood after neighborhood, displaced, trees, agriculture.
Yeah.
We have different smells now.
Sure. Yes. Yes.
Different smells
Yes.
now.
Yes.
What future goals do you have for No Time to Waste?
So our immediate future goals is, our mission statement is providing donated food and goods for those in need. So the goods part gets lost.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is the goods part is essential goods. So we want to start picking up hygiene products, socks, shoes, clothing. If you're homeless, blankets, tents, tarps. We started doing this. We've provided over 37,000 essential goods. That was pre-COVID. When COVID hit, the essential goods part of the business basically stopped because national retailers that we were contacting, I would contact them quarterly, simple email, hey, do you have any product that is you're no longer selling, damaged, surplus, used, open boxes, if you have anything to donate, which was working well. Well, when COVID hit, they didn't even have inventory for themselves. And the supply chain is still not there, where when I contact them, they have a good sense of humor about it. Like, yeah, we wish we had those products too. So that is a part of the business that I want to get back into, providing essential goods rather than just food for those in need. So that is one part of our future goals. The other one is I want to get more involved in our community. I want to get No Time to Waste out there. We are proud members of Willow Glen Business Association. We're the only nonprofit in Willow Glen. We want to embrace that. And we want to be more visual and a part of our community when it comes to events where we've been so busy just working that we want to take the time to get more involved. So No Time to Waste wants to get more into essential goods, wants to be more involved in community. And as I mentioned earlier, if we can get our funding up to get more staff, our impact is just going to...
Well, and I think your secret's going to be individual donors.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, let's pick up this conversation because I'd love to help you get to your next level.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for your time, your vision, your cape, the work you've done.
Appreciate it.
Before and especially after COVID, that you were ready when the opportunity came.
Yeah.
and you were able to say yes and really make a go of this. And you're making an incredible difference in our community. And so thank you for watching today. And I want you to keep this nonprofit in mind. It's no time to waste. And you're going to be hearing more from Paul, I'm sure, and how you can help and help him get the employees he needs to grow this and serve more with less. Thanks for joining today. And thank you, Paul.
Loved it. Thank you.
Here's a sneak peek of the next episode of Nonprofit Stories, featuring Dana Hooper, the Executive Director of Life Services Alternatives.
With the birth of my oldest son, Brent, who, unbeknownst to me at the time, had, intellectual development.
Their mission is to provide exceptional community living and programs for adults with developmental disabilities.
And grew with him over the years. I think I really benefited from learning from him not to make judgments about individuals, to get them.
Check out our full episode on Wednesdays at 5 o'clock Pacific and 8 o'clock Eastern on YouTube. Thank you for listening to the podcast and acknowledging the impactful work of nonprofits in Silicon Valley. Please subscribe and share this episode with a friend. Thank you to our sponsor, TradeMyHome.com, for their community commitment and for making this podcast possible. Until next time, remember to support local nonprofits.